Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Ask a New York City Tour Guide. And we've been looking at the favorite neighborhoods throughout the 5 boroughs of the guides, but this episode we're going to talk about our favorite old place. Most people don't realize that New York City was established in the 1620s as New Amsterdam, and we don't have anything from the 1600s because we had a lot of fires, especially in the 16 and 1700s, but we do have a lot of places that are over 50. So in this episode, the guides are talking about their favorite place that is over 50, a few of them over 100. Well, one of my favorite places is actually a neighborhood, and that's the West Village. Beautiful places dating back to the 1800s. There's even a house there from 1799. Now let's see what the guides have to say.
My favorite place that's over 50 years old is the good old standby Grand Central Terminal. It's beautiful, it's amazing, and its history in preserving places that are over 50 years old is also really important. So visit Grand Central Terminal, you won't be disappointed.
Oh gosh, my favorite place that's over 50 years old. There's lots of them, but definitely Grand Central Terminal. That place is just gorgeous and filled with hidden nooks and crannies.
My favorite old place is it's Grand Central. It's a beautiful old train station, and boy is it old.
Well, I used to be able to say old Yankee Stadium, originally Yankee Stadium, where the Yankees have won the World Series 27 times, more than any other professional sports franchise. But alas, that stadium was torn down approximately a decade ago. So I'd have to go with the subway, one of the world's greatest engineering feats, the New York City subway. It never closes.
My favorite old place. I don't have a specific favorite, but what I love doing is walking around the neighborhoods. So, for example, go to Roosevelt Island, and there is an old sanatorium there. And it's right next to the Roosevelt Memorial. And there's something about being on this island that you can just feel the ghosts. That's why I like going to Greenwich Village, right? And you walk by a building that is very modern, and then right next to it, something that's 1700.
When it comes to my favorite neighborhood that's 50 years or older in New York City, I love the Upper West Side. If you know who Tina Fey is, she lives up there, and she described the neighborhood in a quote where she said, "I love the Upper West Side. This is where the ugly people of New York City live." I feel like that speaks to the personality of that neighborhood. It's a little bit of an older neighborhood. It has older people there, and a lot of it feels like what New York City felt like in the 70s, minus all the stabbings. There's a lot of stuff to appreciate there, including the oldest subway station in New York City, and if you wander around enough, you'll find yourself inside of Central Park, which is always a privilege.
Again, Washington Heights is my neighborhood. It's pre-war buildings, from 1900s, 1915. It's just a beautiful place, and again, you have to walk through River Park side.
So my favorite place over 50 years old is probably the Cloisters. Technically dating back to medieval Europe, but it's also full of old things as well. And I know that feels kind of like a cop-out because it's not a thing that's originally from New York, but most New Yorkers and most New York things are not originally from New York. So hey, go to the Cloisters. It's a fun time.
Old place. Well, it's old, but it's not quite, it's as old as me. Lincoln Center. I love Lincoln Center because you can go see the symphony, the ballet, the Metropolitan Opera. I just like the variety of performances on tap there. Lincoln Center is awesome.
My favorite old place in New York City is Rockefeller Center, just a few streets up from where we are right now. You get an extraordinary sense of era and time from the 1930s to the 1940s, the Art Deco architecture. I mean, if you're really a fan of like what would have been World War II New York and just prior and just after, go to Rock Center. Radio City Music Hall is amazing. St. Patrick's Cathedral is incredible, and the plaza there in the Esplanade is just divine.
50 years old. I love to take people on a tour of Radio City Music Hall. I mean, I don't give the tour, but I've taken people there and gone with them on the tours, and it's an incredible building, incredible experience and history behind it as well.
I'm going to name a number of food venues that are very well known, have been around for a long time, are still there, that I love. And of course, one of them is Russ and Daughters on the Lower East Side. They've been there over 100 years, same family still running it, into the 4th generation now, although they've very wisely also gone onto the internet. They're very smart. In the Bronx, you have a number of places in Belmont, Little Italy of the Bronx, that have been around for a long time. Borgatti Pasta is one. Madonia Bakery makes the very best olive bread in New York City, so I love to go there. They've been around for a very long time. In Ridgewood, Queens, there's Rudy's Bakery, not owned by the original family anymore, but it's a beautiful place. I love taking people there. The woman who runs it now, Italian-American woman, has both updated it to sell a wider range of baked goods because it was founded by Germans over 80 years ago. Now she's just got a wide range of baked goods as well as gelati all year round. So those are 3 that I can think of.
Well, it's interesting that we define old as being 50 years old or older. I like 100-year-old places. I am a great fan of the old food establishments in the Lower East Side, places like Katz's Deli and Yonah Schimmel's Knishery and Russ and Daughters, all of which are over 100.
So my favorite old place here in the city, I go there when I have rich relatives who are visiting so that they can take me out. I love Bemelmans Bar at the Cocktail Hotel. You go there, it is absolutely like stepping back into the Art Deco era. You feel like you're in a Woody Allen movie when you're there. The interior is painted with a mural that was done by Ludwig Bemelman, who was the illustrator for Madeline. It's kind of this fairy tale image of Central Park. Dim, recessed lighting. They have a fantastic jazz trio that performs there. Lawson Harris has been there now for almost 20 years, incredible talent, and it really is old school New York City sophistication at its absolute pinnacle.
The 21 Club. That is my favorite. My late father took me there when I was a child, and I remember going downstairs. That is my favorite, the 21 Club.
My favorite place in New York City that's over 50 years old is a piano bar in Greenwich Village called Marie's Crisis. It has been there since 1967. It is a cash-only basement bar where you and a whole bunch of strangers can sing show tunes along with a live pianist. If you're into musicals at all, it is a must-do on your visit to New York City.
My favorite old place in the city is Francis Tavern in the financial district. It is rumored that George Washington hung out there back in the day and had some brewskis, so that's pretty old. And no, it's just very cool because when you walk in, you just feel like you're in another time, and it's really kind of amazing, and they have really good food too.
My favorite place that's over 50 years old has to be Veniero's Bakery. It's family owned, it's been around since 1894. They're always really nice there, and their pastries are amazing. No one has ever told me, wow, Veniero's is overrated. It's not, so it's nice to know that other people feel the same way. It's a classic New York spot in the East Village. So yeah, my favorite spot.
My favorite old place, it's going to be Mcsorley's. I love history, okay? Mcsorley's Old Ale House has been around since, I believe, 1854. And when you walk in, it has every newspaper you can imagine from the time. You walk around, it's like a library or a museum. It has photographs in black and white from the early 1900s, 1920, I mean, you name it. They have it. And since I'm a Lincoln buff, one of my favorite things they have is the original program of Abraham Lincoln when he did a speech across the street in Cooper Union. They also have the Peter Cooper's chair that Abraham Lincoln sat in on there. So, and they have the wanted poster from John Wilkes Booth after shooting Lincoln, and he was worth $100,000, which back then was quite a lot of money, for shooting the president. Now,
So yeah, neighborhoods everywhere, and places, and hopefully this inspires you to maybe check some of these older places out when you finally are able to get here. Now, of course, I ask that you like, that you share, and that you subscribe, and we'll see you next week.